Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Can you see me? I hope you can. My name is Igor. I'm a software developer, programmer myself, and we do these live streaming sessions every week, every Friday at the same time. We try to do it every week without any exceptions. You ask me questions in the text mode and I answer them, trying to be helpful. The questions may be related to software development, programming, may be related to management of software teams, the career of software developers, us programmers, and maybe in general the philosophy of people living in the era of AI and IT and other technologies. We do it once in English and then the next time in Russian. Again in English, again in Russian. Today is the English day. I read your first question. Have you ever thought, that's the question, that the technical progress in which we live and which we actively work on is meaningless and even harmful to humanity and nature? Does this not make you apathetic towards the work we do? It's an interesting question, but it depends on who is the judge, who decides what is good for the nature and why it's important to be good for the nature. If you look at the larger perspective, on the larger scale, not just a few years or a few hundred years, but you look at the longer one, then probably the nature is also, it's kind of some sort of an incident in the universe which just happened here, and it may happen somewhere else, and it may happen somewhere else, something else may happen. There's a unlimited number of natures in the universe, and there are unlimited number of incidents which may reproduce the same. If we're not talking religious way, but in a pragmatic way, then why in general we need to care about that, the nature? Because it's something, I think in general the nature is something that people we value that because we like it. We look around and we see how beautiful the nature is, and we try to keep it intact as much as we can in order to let other people enjoy it as well. But on a global, on a larger perspective, there will be no people in a few thousand years here. There will be maybe no nature in a few thousand years. That's why this question is too hard to define who is the judge. That's the problem. But on a more practical angle of this question, we can say that some sort of harm is definitely done to humanity, but I would not say to humanity, but more to our to the psychological and philosophical background where we live. I think the technology is sort of killing people inside us. The more technologies we get, the less people we become. If we define people as creatures with a soul, creatures with the feelings, the creatures with some identity, the creatures which care about other creatures, then definitely technologies which we have right now, they're moving us into the wrong direction. But there are in general two directions, but that's how people define them. We can move the civilization, the humanity, into the technological direction, where we're going to have more and more robots, more and more nice things to have which help us to live. And the other direction, where we're going to be more spiritually sophisticated and spiritually ideal and perfect. it's not a matter of technologies we have. We may be very close to animals in this direction. We may live in caves. We may live not in caves, but we may live very close to nature and having no mobile phones, no AI, no computers. But spiritually, maybe we will be very well developed, like monks, like people who live in the caves, and they enjoy their life sometimes way more than people living in the large cities. So which direction is better? Definitely right now the entire world is moving to the first way. Even even China, which is supposed to be on the second route, but they're also moving to the first one. It kind of gives us a lot of fun things to have. For example, the first route actually makes our lives longer. Because in the second way, when you live spiritual lives close to nature, you will die quite soon. And this is what nature wants. The nature doesn't want you to live 100 years. The nature wants you to die at 25, right after you make 10 kids. Then you just die, and then new kids, they will just grow, and the new kids, and that's the nature. The nature is not about being 50 or 60 years old and thinking and reading books and watching movies. This is not nature. It's not good for you from the perspective of nature. The nature wants you to die quite soon and live a very different life. So I don't think you personally will enjoy if I move you right now from where you are to the place where the nature is very close to you. You will pretty much get very disappointed at what you get from nature. Nature is quite it's not as nice as you think it is. It's not like you go to a zoo and see like a nice cat there and a nice monkey and a nice birds, and you look at them and see, wow, that's beautiful. Nature is quite cruel, way more cruel than all these pictures present. So maybe we don't really want to be close to nature. Next question. I got a job which is well paid, but I don't deserve it. That's quite typical question people ask. And I answer the same thing over and over again. Just don't worry about it. You will get used to it. Just do the job. Don't get this self-reflection too much. You just don't spend time on that. Next one. Tests are crucial. For example, TDD, test-driven development. You say. I say, yes, I definitely say so. However, that's the question. Telegram bot API servers code is open and they have more than 20,000 C++ lines of code without a single test. Telegram bots are stable and used by millions, though they aren't tested. Why then? That's a good question. I know other examples of the same situation where we have the software which is stable, which makes money, which is in production, but there are no tests for different reasons. But usually the reason is that people who created the software, they just don't know how to write tests. They just don't have this skill, they don't do that, and they never did that, and that's fine for them because they just write what works and then they put it to production, and then they ask people to test it, the manual testers, for example, users, and then these users complain, and then they write down the complaints, and then they make fixes, and they deploy a new version, and they see how people react. And then when people don't react well, or for example, they see the logs on the server, the logs will tell them that something is wrong, then they make the fixes and release the new version. And then over and over again, they sit in front of the computers for days and months and years, and eventually the software becomes stable. It's possible to do like that, but I think that there is, well, basically two major problems with that. The problem is, for number one, is that this approach is okay when the functionality of your software is well defined in the beginning and you don't expect it to change after you release 1538 stable version. After that, you can say, okay, that's enough. That's my Telegram bot API. That's all I I deliver all the functionality. Well, a little bit, maybe there will be some changes here and there, but in general, that's a stable system. You don't need to change it every day. You don't need to refactor it massively. It's quite stable product. If you plan to make your product different every few months and add some massive changes to the functionality, it may be difficult, because every time you're going to start from scratch. You're going to start from a broken software. You're going to make the changes and then you deploy it to production, and then you see crashes. You see how the log is full of mistakes, full of errors. You need to deal with that. That's just I think it's impossible, just technically. And second is that this approach without tests, it's more expensive. You see the code, you see 20,000 lines of code, you see that it works, but you don't know how many man hours have been invested into these 20,000 lines of code. I don't know either, but I think that the number will be 10 times larger comparing to what a team properly disciplined and organized with the testing practices set up would create with the same size. 20,000 lines, it's not a big piece of code. Let's see how much time they invested and how it would be possible to invest. It's a matter of effort, a matter of money, of how much it is. But that's a good point. You're making a good point. Actually, I will tell you the story, which I told a number of times already in some interviews. I was working I was in Europe for some time, and then I know the story about Booking.com. I can say the name now because it was a long time story, long time ago. And in Booking.com, at that time, that was maybe 8 or 10 years ago, their software was written in Perl. The entire system for making bookings, the website. The whole system was written in Perl, which is, you can understand how difficult is this language. It's not like Java or even C++ or Python or JavaScript. It's a crappy language. It's difficult to read, difficult to write in Perl, especially if you have many people in the team. Their software was, maybe still is, but at that time it was written in Perl, and they had 0 tests. They didn't have any unit tests, integration, unit, whatever. They didn't have them. And they had an official policy. That's what I know from the people who I talked to, who worked there at their team. There was an official policy that we just have $1 million or €1 million allocated, like every year or every month, for the problems we have in production. Instead of investing into testing, instead of investing into setting up the proper infrastructure, we just say, whatever, our customer loses money because of the bug in the system, we just pay them. We just call the customer and say, it was a bug in the system, you put the order there, you scheduled your vacation, you spent 1,000 euros and then you didn't get the tickets. Don't worry, here's your 2,000 euros. We just compensate you for that. And you're a happy customer from now on. But we're not going to invest this money into programmers because our programmers are incompetent. The programmers are, they will spend maybe too much time to create those tests. Our investment will be bigger. And that was reasonable, I think, at that time. Because, if the system is legacy and you don't have a strong team of experts who are committed to make it better and who understand how to make it better, then you better say, I'm not going to do that. I just give up. I just buy my customers' loyalty. So maybe this is kind of close to your example. When you are ready to admit the facts that, there will be crashes in production, but we don't care that much. But me personally, I would be not comfortable just to work in this environment, in the software where we don't have any tests, because it's very stressful. You cannot simply go home and spend the weekend without opening the computer and not thinking about what's going on in production. You constantly have to be in front of the computer. You have to worry about it. You have to be stressed. And that's not a nice life to have. Well, if you have a boss who will constantly pressure you and demand you to be in front of the computer, and then you will have shifts, You stay there in the morning, somebody else stays there in the evening, and so on and so forth. But that's unprofessional. It's just no fun. I would quit. I would just give up staying in this team because it's just wrong. Next question. What is your favorite characteristics of Russian culture? Russian culture. Interesting question. I think Russian culture may be characterized as quite deep. People are, well, the culture is people, right? The culture consists of people and what was created by people. People live and then they produce something like the literature, like paintings, like movies, like stories, like funny jokes. All this is the culture. And if you look at all that, then you see people who are still alive and people who died, but they left all that. And I think these people in general, they are quite deep. They try to think deeper than it is enough to survive. When I lived in America for 5 years and I lived in Europe for 7 years, the people there are less. Well, in America, they are very shallow. They're not that deep. They don't ask questions if the answer is not going to impact their life directly in the next, reasonable amount of time. They don't worry about things that don't concern them. They're not going to talk to you just for the fun of it about things which are philosophical and fundamental and the meaning of life or something like that. It's a question more for European people and especially for Russian people. That's why Russian writers like Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, they are so much different than American writers because they, like, if you read Dostoevsky, it's like a long book about nothing. It's a very small, not so complicated story. There are no many twists, not so much drama there. Just a long discussion about what's going on inside one person, and why this person doesn't like what's going on this morning, and why that person likes what happened yesterday, and what's the difference. And then they discuss that and they feel something about it. It's a quite deep discussion. And many people in America, which is a very practical country, they don't understand that. They don't understand what it's for. What's the point of reading that if it doesn't really make my life different? Me, personally, my life. So that's, I think, something that many writers love. I mean, many famous people love about Russian culture. Exactly this. Being deeper than necessary for practical survival, and from there, from this deepness, many other things are coming from. For example, the readiness to die for the things which are not really easy to understand for a practical German guy, for example, or the French guy or American guy. They just don't understand what's the point. Like, why are you, like Russian movies, for example, about war, about just not only war, but about like regular life, difficult to understand for American people because they just look at that and they just understand what's the problem with this guy? Why so many troubles he's struggling with? If it can be solved just like that, just do this and that's it. But the main guy doesn't do that for some reason because something stops him from doing that. What is it? What stops him? Something deep inside. I think that's what the culture is about. Next question. Strict and minimalistic IT solutions are usually less popular and are replaced by flexible and universal ones. How do you see the market share of your EO language in this case? Less flexible and universal ones. I'm not sure this is the accurate summarization of what's happening, but it's close. Maybe I'm thinking now what you said, and I can tell you that I don't know what and why becomes popular. I think that thinking about that is not going to help you or me to make a good product, to make an interesting solution and make it popular. I think every product has its own way. Some of them become popular because they are universal and flexible. Some of them not. Some of them become popular because all of a sudden they are super not flexible and they fit the specific niche, which makes them useful because of that quality, because that's what they are. I would try to stay away from generalization here, like what makes products popular. In our case, in the case of EO language, we believe that strict approach and clear vision of what object-oriented programming is and clear implementation of this vision may give us some benefits. We don't even know yet what kind of benefits. We're still searching for them. We're still trying to find out because we still don't have the clear vision and we still don't have the clear implementation of our vision. We're not sure yet. The language has been changed over the last 2 years dramatically. Like a number of very not significant, but very critical, pivotal moments have been there when we realize that something that we do, something that we have in the language is wrong. It should be different. And we believe that there will be a few more in the coming future. We still have about 100 open bugs in the backlog, 100. And I'm not talking about some cosmetic issues which can be fixed easily. We cannot fix them. We don't have enough time to do that, but all of them are important. We regularly look at the backlog and we're trying to close something there. We still have like 95 today, it was like 93, 95, something like that. And we cannot just remove half of them, which we would love to do. It's still a lot, and we still need help. We still need programmers who can join us and actually help us implement what is not implemented there, because there are only just a few of us who do the development. When we have the clear vision, when we say, okay, now we believe that this is the right way, this is how object-oriented programming must look like. In this style of programming, we believe, then we will start thinking, what can it give us? Because it's very strict, because it's very pure, it's very elegant, it's very transparent. You see the code, you understand what it does, and it doesn't lead to mistakes, and it's proper way of designing software according to our understanding. Then we will think what's next. So far, it's still early, too early. That's why I'm inviting you to join. We're still at the early stages of the project. Next question, what should be improved in the current capitalism? In the current capitalism, how to improve it? Well, I think in general, probably what should be improved, in order to get to a more fair society, in order to be in a better world, in order to let more people enjoy their life. There are many jokes which are structured the same way, and they similar jokes which are structured the same way. They all start like that. The world is full of crooks. The world is unfair. There are only a small amount of people take advantage of a huge amount of people, of all others. That's that's a world of violence, the world of exploitation. But there's also a bad news. There's also and now the bad news is coming, and that makes the joke funny, because the previous description of the world, that was actually not a bad description. You're supposed to like what I just said, but of course you don't, and that's why you laugh. So that answering your question. So who is not happy with the current capitalism? The capitalism is not becoming, it was like that, like 2,000 years ago, and now it is the same. And it's, well, I think it was not capitalism maybe 2,000 years ago when there was a different title of the structure of the society, and maybe even 500 years ago there was another title of this, but still the same situation was just with a different name. The small amount of people, they were exploiting the larger amount of people, the rest of the world. It's just a hierarchy of elite on top and then everybody else at the bottom. I think that's nature. We started our talk today with the question about nature, and there was a question, why are we against nature? But that's nature. Nature wants us to be structured like that. The nature wants us to be under somebody. We want to have the hierarchy. That's how animals live. Look at the animals. There are not so many animals who live alone, who live without being in the hierarchy, being in the groups. And as soon as the animals are in the group, they're always going to be somebody who is in charge of the group, who takes advantage of others, of other members of the group. It's just normal for the nature. Nobody complains about that. They just stronger animals, they eat weaker animals, sorry. The same happens for people, but on a larger scale. We are smarter. That's why we designed the society in a larger pyramid, where just a small group of people can not just eat a few other people, but they can eat 1 million people. Because actually that's what they do. They actually eat us. They take like a lot of resources from us. We basically, every day we work for them. Maybe not you personally, because you're a programmer and you feel like you don't work for anybody. You just enjoy your life. You have a nice computer, a nice apartment, and then you have a nice coffee every morning. Yes, but if you look at the average people and just the millions of people, then you will see that many people, just when they work, they give away a large amount of results to somebody who don't work, who don't do anything for their entire life. How to fix that? How to improve it? Well, how to make maybe these exploited people live a little bit better life? I don't think it's possible to do and should be improved. It's like asking how the nature should be improved. How would I improve nature? Well, I would like that tigers don't eat antelopes. That would be nice. And then maybe tigers should just be like cows and like horses, eat the grass instead of killing other animals. That would be nice, maybe. But then the horses, they also have the hierarchy of domination. If you look at the huge group of horses, then you will see that there are dominant horses and there are horses who are being abused in a bad way. That would be nice not to have that. I would love to get rid of that and then make all the horses equal. So they just love each other, they share the grass, they don't compete, never. But then probably that will kill the nature. I think we will just ruin the whole idea if we do that. The world is designed as a place for competition. That's why we all live. That's the principle of life. We kill others. That's how we survive. One piece of material, which is living material, they kills another piece of material and then consumes what is being killed. And then creates another piece of material. And that's the cycle. It goes on and on and on. We don't like it, nobody cares. The same for capitalism. The question is how we can create a different structure which will be more advanced than capitalism, possibly. Well, we tried that a few times, and it always ends up bad. And I think it ends up bad because it goes against the nature. It's like getting tigers together and just trying to make them happy without killing each other. It may work for some time. It may work for a few days, maybe. If you feed them well, if you show them nice movies, you entertain them, but eventually one of them will kill another. It just will happen. The same with people. You can probably try to structure the society where all people just are equal, and then they share what they create, and they enjoy being together, and they're not trying to take advantage of others. They're not trying to stop working and then just start exploiting others. Like, for example, buying an apartment and start renting this apartment, which is exactly the capitalism. That's a micro element of capitalism. When you dream about buying an apartment and then renting this apartment to somebody, you're exactly that tiger who is trying to kill another animal. Because you want to stop working. You want to stop working from the moment when you give this apartment to somebody. Now they will bring you the food. You did some work before and then you stop doing that. You're not anymore a producer of anything. Then people will start bringing you food. If you work for this apartment, that may be a little bit better story. But if you, for example, got this apartment from your grandma who died, then you start giving this apartment to some young family, and they will bring half of their income to you. You are the capitalist. You are the the root of all evil. Don't look at the rich guys who sit on the top. That's exactly the primitive, simple, very naive, but very practical example of capitalism. Do you like it? You enjoy it. You think it's great, right? Don't work and get the money every month. Or, for example, you go to the bank and you put your money to the bank, and then you get the dividends every month. The bank pays you for the deposit. That's capitalism. You don't do anything. You're not working. You're not creating anything. You just gave the number, and then suddenly, from somewhere, they generate the value and give it to you. And you enjoy it. You're like, wow, I'm good. No, you're not good. You're just part of the system of capitalism. And everybody feels like the same. They just don't want to work. They want to get away, like get out of the working food chain where you have to work and give your results to somebody. You want to be the one who gets the results, not gives them the results, but gets them from others. Everybody enjoys that. Me, myself. Why not? In order to change that, we need different people. We need to change the mindset of people. We need to, like communists in Soviet Russia had an initial idea, just to wipe out the population on Earth. Just kill 90% of the people on the Earth. And then the 10% who will stay, even them will not be suitable. But new generations who will be born, if we teach them right, then they will be different. That may be possible to do, maybe. But we tried a number of times. You know how it ended up. It didn't end well because, well, people enjoy being lazy. People enjoy exploiting others instead of working for the community. Next question, how to get students in grades 5-9 into programming? That's a good question, and I have a blog post about that. You can go to my blog and search for how to teach kids to code. That's the title of the article, which I wrote maybe 5 or 6 years ago. The point of the article is this. You have to help them find a proper objective, a proper goal for their study, for their work, for their existence. The problem with kids is that they don't know what to do. It's not the problem that they don't know how to do it. They will learn. They're quick learners. That's not a problem for kids of how. The problem is what to do. And many people make a huge mistake when they are young. They just find the wrong goal. And their parents, they're not participating in this. They're not helping them with this. The parents are trying to fix the how. The parents are telling them, you have to study, you have to go to the school, you have to get the good grades, you have to be this and this and that. That doesn't work. It doesn't help the kids. What helps is that the parents have to focus on the target and say, it would be great if you, in the end, get this done. Not become a smart person, not become a winner of some game among the students. It's not a reasonable objective for a kid. The kids don't care about that. But you say, look, you're going to create a mobile app, which is going to be a game, and we're all going to play this game. That's a target. And then focus that kid on this target and tell that kid that, look at the other games which were created by other people. Look how they work. You play this game, you play that game, but you can create your own game. And then try to explain why it's what's interesting. What are the benefits the kid will get? If the kid gets older, like the kid is not 5 or 9, ninth grade is mature enough, you can explain how that kid can make money. But not tell them that you're going to grow up and then you will go to the bank and you will work as a programmer. That's boring. It doesn't motivate a kid. But you can tell, look, you can create your own website. You can create a Facebook #2. You can investigate together with the kid what can be the target for them. Focus on these discussions. This is you only talk about that with the kid. You don't talk about how. You don't tell them how to read the books, where to find the books, how to structure their day, how to be disciplined. All of these things, they only make the kid despise you as a friend. The kid will not respect you for that because you are definitely not the proper source of that information for the kid. No, you just say, you know what, I'm old enough to know how to make money. I can show you, this is the story of some guy who made $1 million this and this and this way, how they created this and this and that. Look at that, interesting story. You can do the same. Not even maybe you can do the same, but you can do the same. I know you since you were 1 year old. I know you can do that. You have all the proper qualities. Look, this is what they did. I would do that. If I would be the teacher of really young kids, like 5th grade, then I will just focus on that. And then they will come to you. They will come to me as the teacher and say, can you help me to find the right book so that I can achieve my goal? And then I will say, okay, sure, it is the book. I can help you, but I'm not pushing you to read that book. No. I can only provide help. Next question. In big companies, it's more important to be brilliant engineer or communicator. I often see that talkers are promoted while doers are not. Is it common? Yeah, that's how it should be. That's a normal situation, of course. Just like we discussed with the capitalism. There are always tigers and there are always cows. And tigers will eat the cows. And those who talk, they are the tigers. They don't care about writing code. They don't care about solving technical problems. They are just trying to find the right way to be at the right position next to the right person. And always the growth in a company depends on the people who promote you. And very rarely, only in exceptional cases, when you are obviously brilliant, when you're really creating something which is 10x better than other people, then yes, everybody will just pay attention to your technical competence. And even if you have enemies around you, all of you hate you because you're a bad person, but you are 10x more effective technical wise, you will get the promotion, but to some extent, to some level. And then they will stop promoting you and you will be maybe the leader of 5 other engineers, and that's it, with a big salary. They will keep you there, they will give you money, but career-wise, they're not going to move you up on the career ladder. In order to move up, there should be people who move you up. And these people, they have to know you, they have to trust you, they have to expect you to be with them and support them, support their decisions, Don't argue with them too much. You have to be in the group of people. And these talkers, you're saying talkers, they're not only talkers. They don't just go to the coffee machine and just talk about whatever. No, they're not. This is not going to get you anywhere as well. If you just talk, if you're just being a nice guy, talk to everybody. No, you need to talk to the right people. You need to listen to what they say and try to be helpful to them. And usually in a bad way. For example, they are looking for some secret information. They need to know what the other departments are doing now. You should bring this information to them. You should steal this information here and bring it to them. That will be appreciated. They will consider you as a valuable asset and they will help you in the future. So just look around and talk to people who are moving up, people who also have good connections on the top, and then ask them what they want, what is necessary for them, what is important. And they're not going to tell you that it's important for me to create a new version of this software. No, absolutely not. They don't care about that. Yeah, especially in large organizations. In large organizations, the software will be created no matter what. And if it will not be created, nobody cares. Even if the entire project will fail, it doesn't matter for the organization. The organization will survive. So don't spend your time on fixing Java bugs. Instead, try to fix the life of people who are on top of you. Which is sad. I hate that. I don't like what I just told you, but that's unfortunately the reality. Next question. I recently read my article, daily stand-up meetings are a good tool for a bad manager. Have you changed your mind about holding agile events to understand what the employees in your team are doing? Well, no, I haven't changed. I still believe that in order to understand what your people are doing, you do not need to ask them. Don't ask them the status of what they're doing. It should be visible to you in the system. You know what they're doing because you have bug tracking system, for example, and then there are bugs assigned to them. And if you need to know what they're doing, you don't need to set them up together in front of each other and ask them one by one to tell everybody else what they're doing. This information is irrelevant. For example, I'm in your team and you're my boss. And in the morning, you ask me and another 10 people to stand in front of you and then tell you what I'm doing. And then I listen to other 9 stories. I would ask you the question, why should I care about these 9 stories? It's not important for me. Why should I listen to them? It's no fun. I mean, it's just a waste of time. If it's going to take maybe 5 minutes, I'll say, okay, for 5 minutes I can listen to this. But even for 5 minutes, what's the point? What can they tell me in 5 minutes? Why should I need to know what they're doing? I see the bug tracking system. If the discussion is about technical decisions, for example, we need to discuss how to design this system in the proper way, and it's a different story. Then maybe I could be interested to talk with them. But if it's just a status reporting, you're the boss. You need this information. Why I need this information? Why I should know that the status report which is delivered to you, it's not delivered to me. I cannot anyhow affect that. I should stay quiet, right? Because it's your subordinate reports to you. You listen. You're the boss. He's the subordinate. Well, am I allowed to interrupt and say, no, you're wrong? Or am I allowed to interrupt you as a boss who is talking to another subordinate and say, hey, stop, you're giving the wrong information? That's weird, right? So I'm supposed to say mute, completely quiet, saying nothing for 20 minutes. Usually that's how long it takes, 15 minutes or something. I just stay and wait until this whole charade is finished. It's only but it's for bad managers, yes, because bad managers, they don't know what to do else. How else they can demonstrate power to people? How can a manager show everybody that he's the boss? What is the instrument? That's a perfect instrument. You stand in front of me. You report to me. Everybody can see who reports to who. You have no confusion about that. And if you don't report, you feel very bad about it because I'm the boss. And you have a very bad report. And everybody will see how I tell you. Why? You did not do that yesterday. even though you promised us, all of us, you promised to do it yesterday, but you didn't. Why? And then you feel ashamed, you feel guilty, and you start explaining, and we all enjoy that because you're being humiliated and I'm the boss. Perfect. But that's the primitive, the most primitive way of enforcing power, of establishing power in a group. I think we're better than that, we programmers. We have other instruments for doing the same. Next question. What are your thoughts on extension classes, extension methods? Do you consider them a valuable language feature or more an anti-pattern? Extension classes. I have no idea what it is. You mean the mixins, the something which goes into the class, or what is the extension class? I don't know this term. Sorry, maybe I missed something. But if you're talking about inheritance, then I'm against inheritance because I know extension means inheritance in some languages, for example, in Java. Then, yes, inheritance is a bad idea. Next one. Have you ever consulted a psychologist or psychotherapist? What do you think about people in this profession? Are they important to society? Yes, I have quite long experience of communicating with a psychotherapist, and like for many years I practiced that, and it was interesting. It was interesting and valuable, but when I started that, I quite soon realized that you not so much need a psychologist or the shrink, by the way, but you need a psychotherapy as a area of science. You don't need somebody to help you. You can help yourself. And most of the time I was interested in learning how it works, in reading the books about psychology and understanding yourself. It's like self-reflection. You don't need, in most cases, you don't need another person to listen to you. You can explain to yourself everything if you know the basic rules. If you know how, according to these psychologists, how our brain works, what triggers our reactions, and how we can stop them from being triggered. And that can be understood from the books. You don't need people for that. Well, initially you need somebody to start you. Somebody needs to show you the way and say, because in the beginning when I started that, I was maybe like 25 years old or something. I didn't know about that. I thought that psychologists are just buffoons who just charge for nothing, but it's not really true. Well, there are many of them like that, but this doesn't mean that in general this area of science is that. No, it's pretty interesting and well-researched, and still a lot of research there, but well-researched territory. Of course, it's not it's not an exact science. It's difficult to prove there anything with a proper proof. But the same is in empirical software engineering. How do we prove? We just look at the numbers, we just collect the numbers, and then we say, you know what? Longer pull requests is not good, and smaller pull requests means better quality of the software. How do we prove that? We just look at the numbers. We don't look at the billions of pull requests. We just look at the few hundred thousands of pull requests. But that's it. The same what psychologists are doing. They just study the behavior of a few thousand people and they say, you know what? Women are this and men are this. Or, for example, people who had this type of relationship with their parents, they, on average, behave like that when they grow up. So it means that if you don't like how you behave, then you look backward, see what was happening in your childhood, and if this was exactly that, then you understand the connection, why you do what you do. Then maybe how to fix that, that's a separate question, but at least you understand the connection. Maybe it's not true, just like in software engineering. Maybe you still need to do long pull requests, and everything will be fine because you're special, you're different. But chances are high that you're not different. Chances are high that you're like everybody else. And that's what psychologists are saying. They're just saying we're all more or less the same. We're all repeating the same mistakes like people were doing 200 years ago. So why should we just be blind and say, no, 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 we're all unique. Every person is a unique universe. It's a cosmos. We don't know. No, it's not true. We're all more or less copies of each other. And if we're similar, if our patterns are typical, then by knowing these patterns, we can help ourselves. That's what I think about psychology. It's very good. But of course, you need to look at this from a scientific point of view. Instead of just listening to somebody, read the books. Because in the books, they will show you the studies. They will show you the numbers. They will explain to you that this is not just an idea. This is basically based on some statistics. It's not like astrology, for example. They will say you that this particular sign is stronger than this one. This is definitely garbage. It's not based on any statistics, because that's speculation, nothing else. But when you tell you that younger people are more, for example, vulnerable, and then older people are more mature and they have different types of problems, it is based on facts, on huge amount of empirically collected facts. But of course, it's not strict. It's not exact science. It's not a repeatable experiment. Exact science is when you can repeat that. But for example, I tell you that I don't know, if you drop an apple, then it's gonna fall down. You can drop as many apples as you want. It's not just my idea. It's just in general repeatable experiment. But with people and with empirical software engineering, it's not repeatable. I can make you a number of long pull requests and they will be super high quality code. Boom. I just violate your theory that long pull requests is a bad idea. No, it's not a bad idea. But that's the best we can do with this inability to repeat the experiment doesn't stop us from calling this science and from continuing the research. We understand the limitations of the research. We understand that we don't have enough data to prove the absolute truth. But still, the results of our research may help other people. All right, next question. I just watched all the movies you recommended on Movies for Thanasis on your blog. What kind of movies you can recommend to watch as well? There are two pages on my blog. The one is called Movies for Thanasis. That's my old friend. And there's another page which is called Recommended Movies. And this page is longer, much longer. And it contains maybe 200 movies. So the one you saw is short, but that's the best. That's the movies I love, and I've seen all of them for at least 10 times. But there's another page which is called just Recommended Movies. Here's the full list of about 200 or maybe 250 movies. They're also good, but I cannot say that I've seen them many times, but at least once, and I recommend them. Okay, next question. Can you explain why Linux win on BSD systems? As I see, we use Linux everywhere as opposed to BSD systems. What is Linux secret? That's a good question. When I was a kid, I remember there was no Linux at that time, and we had BSD. And then all of a sudden, Linux started to show up. It was at that time, I remember the disks, there was a Red Hat Linux, and very, very, very early versions of it. I remember that was just the commercial support. Because for the BSD, we didn't have any nice disks with any commercial label on it. There was no Red Hat there. There was just something which you need to download and then fight with it for yourself. Maybe that's an explanation. Because BSD, that's a starting point, and it's good, and I think it's even maybe better than Linux in the deep inside. So it's hard to speculate about that. We don't know. It's hard to say what happened, but usually I try to suspect somebody behind the scene. In general, that's what I recommend to you as well to do. When you see success of something, when you see that something goes into some direction for no obvious reason, then you have to understand that there is a reason. You just don't see it. You just don't know about it. And usually what grows it grows because somebody with success already wants it to grow. It's very, very rare cases when something starts to grow from the bottom up. Just nobody knew about that, and then you create something and then it starts growing up, and then people on the top who were on the top for many years before, they just realized that, hey, there's a competitor here. What to do with this competitor? Oh, we're so surprised. Now we need to give half of our shares to this guy because he just grew up from out of nowhere. It's a very unusual situation. Usually it's not like that. Usually it starts from the top. They just decide on the top that probably it's time to create another solution. We had BSD, now it's time to create Linux. Why? For some reasons. We don't know those reasons. Who do we gonna support? Oh, these guys or that guys. Let's pick the one who is the most, the smartest one, the most loyal to us, somebody who we can count on. Then we support that and it starts growing. And then when the journalists arrive, we say, oh, that guy, we don't know that guy, just a talented guy just out of nowhere. He's just a genius. That's an explanation. He's a genius. Why did it happen? Because he's a genius. That's easy to explain. Nobody gonna argue with that. Why Bill Gates is so successful? Because he's a genius. Easy. Discussion is over. But probably it's not the real reason. Next one. What are you proud of? What is your most successful IT project? To be honest, so far I'm proud of assembly. I think that's something that I consider the most interesting thing that I created. It's a language for XML modifications, XML manipulations. From the technical excellence, in my opinion, this is the highest, because it's very, in my opinion, it's a very bright idea, even though it's my idea. But you ask me the question what I consider, so I say, if I would judge, I have about 200 projects on GitHub, 200 repositories. I just checked them today when I was counting the lines of code. 200 repositories over the course of 10 years. So out of these 200, I will pick one, which is assembly. That's the language for making modifications to XML. We use this in every single project we develop. It's used very actively by us, by our team, and by many other projects of mine. That's so far probably. Maybe the next one will be EOL language in the future. We're getting to that. And then Xerocracy. Xerocracy, I hope it's going to be quite an interesting platform in the nearest future. Okay, a few more questions and we're done. What about AI and software engineer jobs would be obsolete? Will companies need junior programmers? Okay, we discussed that a number of times. I don't think that the companies don't need programmers. It's going to be just different types of programming job. We're still going to do programming. We're still going to develop the software, just doing it differently. It's going to be just different type of programming. That's it. Next one. Do you have plans to have children? Oh, definitely. Definitely. I would love to have children. It's just a matter of the amount of investment you're ready to make. I don't want to have children just for the sake of it. I want to give them something, to actually have enough so that I can give it away. And I don't have enough right now. That's the problem. Not the problem, but that's the situation. I mean, when I have enough, then I will be ready to say, okay, now this one goes to that guys, and that will help them somehow to become better than me. I think that's in my mind, that's the concept of having children. Some people may have different concepts. Some people just believe that children are just the creatures of nature and it's just nice to have them, which is also a reasonable paradigm, but it's not for me. I don't feel so much excitement about the nature. I think that, like I said, I think that nature is pretty cruel and pretty dangerous and pretty violent ecosystem. and there's no need to enjoy just looking at it and saying, "Wow, we do whatever the nature requires." Nature has its own objectives, and it has its own reasons, which you're not gonna like if you really know what nature wants from you. You're not gonna be happy about it if somebody will tell you what exactly God or nature plans to do with you and with all of us together. Next question. You say that a junior or junior programmer needs to commit to Linux in order to find a job. Could you do this as a junior without work experience? Do you have dozens of Linux commits that you want juniors to commit? Well, I understand your frustration that you are probably a junior programmer and you don't know how to do that, but Linux is an exaggeration. You don't need to commit to Linux kernel because it's difficult. Even though it may be difficult, but if you really dive deeper into that and you study what's going on there and you study the piece of code there, and you don't need to change the entire kernel, the entire system. You just find a very niche place, very small one, and then contribute there. But aside from Linux, you can find another project. I said it tons of times that we have our own projects which are written in Java, written in Python, in Ruby, in Rust, and we invite people to contribute, and people come to us like junior programmers. They come to me and say, I'm ready to contribute. I was watching your Friday session and I'm so excited and I'm so motivated right now. Give me the task. And I give them the tasks and they walk away and they never come back. They're just lazy. It's not that the tasks are difficult. It's not that the project is not interesting. They are just lazy. That's it. Because they have other instruments of getting the job, of getting the position. They will just beg for the job. They will just ask, oh, please give me the job, I can do, and so on and so forth. People are weak and lazy. Let's admit this fact. And when you ask me, like, how can I do that? I don't have an experience. You're just lazy, no offense. But you just don't know, you just don't want to. You don't have enough motivation. You have a motivation to do something else. Don't try to find an excuse for yourself. Just do it. Spend 1 month on that. Just 1 month, 8 hours every day, just doing that. Just trying to make changes to Linux kernel and making sure they will accept your changes. Just find one bug, one defect which is reported there, and they have tons of them. Study this particular bug, try to make changes, try to run it, try to install it on your local computer, try to build this Linux kernel, try to make the fixes. Eventually, you will succeed. But spend enough time, enough effort for that. Okay, final question. How can you talk about teaching children if you don't have children? Well, I teach students. That's why I talk about teaching kids. Okay, I think we're done with the questions. End of the time. See you next Friday, 6 p.m. Moscow time. Thank you for coming.